In 1986, Turner Broadcasting was looking to grow their reach in the rapidly expanding television media market. They thought of an idea for a 24-hour channel dedicated to one thing: cartoons. I think you guys can already see where this is going. Today we ask the question and go through the history of what happened to Cartoon Network.
We're talking toon here. Boing, boing, bam. The world's first Cartoon Network is coming October 1st. Contact your local cable operator for details.
We're talking toon here.
What?
Now for this video, I want to start all the way back because there's a lot of history to how a channel like Cartoon Network could even come to be. So I want to take you guys back, all the way back to the very beginning.
What we do here is go back.
So Ted Turner, who created the Turner Broadcasting Company, was working for his father's advertising company, Turner Advertising, later renamed to Turner Communications in the late 1960s when Ted eventually owned the company, and he made it the biggest advertising company in the southeastern United States. In 1976, Turner began using satellite technology and shifted all his focus to television. His company was again renamed, and now it was called Turner Broadcasting Company. Ted Turner came up with a revolutionary idea to create a 24-hour news channel, the first all-news network of its kind, and it was called CNN. CNN, or Cable News Network, launched in the year 1980, and to the surprise of many, it was massively popular. Nobody thought that there was a market for constant news coverage on a 24-hour cycle, but Ted's idea for a 24-hour news channel proved skeptics wrong. No more did everyone need to tune in at specific hours of the day or night to get their news. Also now, nobody had to miss the news because it was always playing on a loop on CNN. Ted was right, and this frame of mind inspired the next big move for the company. In the year 1986, Ted Turner's cable TV juggernaut acquired most of the 1986 MGM Film and Television Library. This acquisition included Associated Artists Productions, Warner Bros., Fleischer Studios, and along with acquiring the rights to other animation studios, Turner Broadcasting acquired Hanna-Barbera Productions in 1981. With all of these great animated assets, Turner basically did what he did, revolutionizing news, but now with cartoons. In 1992, Cartoon Network launched. It was the first 24-hour channel to air only cartoons. Now, Cartoon Network originally only aired reruns of classic cartoons. Among the most popular were Looney Tunes episodes, Tom and Jerry, Popeye the Sailor Man, and of course, we can't forget
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now.
Now, of course, there was tons of other shows that aired, but these were some of the most notable, and some of which are still reran to this day in 2018. Cartoon Network was also, to the surprise of many, very popular. It appealed to children and offered a channel that parents could leave on for the kids any time of the day, for them to watch without worry of foul language or much violence. Now, of course, back in those days, cartoons featured drinking, guns, and a lot of other adult-oriented themes, but it was relatively safer than some other things that they could watch on TV. And it was also very popular with adults alike, as it aired cartoons that were very popular when the adults of the 1980s were children. From 1992 through 2001, the president of Cartoon Network was Betty Cohen. She was the network's first president. And though the network was exclusively airing reruns of classic cartoons, 8,500 hours worth at the time, Betty Cohen was open to exploring original content for the Cartoon Network, but this original content was initially used to promote the network's concept of reruns of classic cartoons, not necessarily a new series, yet. Cartoon Network's first original show was The Moxie Show, which aired in 1993. The show was essentially just some random 3D generated skits that aired in the middle of episodes of regular reruns that the network was airing. The animation, while terrible to today's standards, was pretty advanced, as 3D animation was basically in its infancy back in those days, and Moxie the dog and Flea the flea were the stars of these strange skit interlude things. And quick side note, this was a Hanna-Barbera production, but the show is mostly lost off the face of the earth. It never had DVD releases, and no full episodes as of making this video have been found online. Just a few clips from a behind-the-scenes video that was uploaded to YouTube. It's strange how poorly documented this show is, considering it ran from 1993 to the year 2000, but pretty much all traces of this are gone off the face of the earth. Now, just a year after the Moxie show aired, the first original series came out on Cartoon Network. The show was called Space Ghost Coast to Coast in 1994. This show was very popular and much better documented. Space Ghost was a show that used recycled animation cells from Hanna-Barbera archives and turns them into a comedy late-night talk show. It also managed to mix in live guests. Funny enough, they would purposely look for celebrities past their primes to have easy material to joke about. Space Ghost is credited with being one of the best parody talk shows, as well as expanding Cartoon Network's appeal to teens and young adults. In the same year as Space Ghost, Cartoon Network Studios was founded, and it started production on a program called What a Cartoon. What a Cartoon aired in 1995. It was a program offering animated shorts from Hanna-Barbera as well as independent animators. The network promoted this as a return to the classic days of studio animation, offering full control to the animators of their style, content, and budget. Executives were, for the most part, on board with the idea. Cartoon Network was assessing the potential of these shorts that were aired and looked at the ratings and the demographic reach to use these shorts as pilots to spin off new series, and they would sign contracts with fresh new animators with new ideas. From 1995 through 1999, Cartoon Network's What a Cartoon launched a huge array of new animated series, my favorites of which I'm going to show parts of the intros to solely give some nostalgia to everybody. So we had Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo,
1, 2, 3, Wait there. Sassy.
Cow and Chicken,
Mama had a chicken. Mama had a cow. Dad was proud. He didn't care how. Cow. Chicken.
Courage the Cowardly Dog,
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog. Abandoned as a pup, he was found by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband, Eustace Bay. But creepy stuff happens in nowhere. It's up to Courage to save his new home.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
Powerpuff Girls,
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl. But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction, Chemical X. Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born.
and Ed, Edd n Eddy. Now, there was a few other series that came out in the same time frame, but these were my most notable ones. Another crucial move was the introduction of Toonami in 1997, which offered English dubbed anime to US audiences, many for the first time. This sparked a whole new American fanbase for Japanese anime, hosted on the Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network's original plan for airing reruns of classic cartoons was mostly erased by the time the year 2000 rolled around. The classic cartoons were now mostly aired in the early morning hours and would almost exclusively feature Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, and Scooby-Doo. For the rest of the vast library of classic cartoons, Cartoon Network launched a separate channel for them called Boomerang. This channel showed exclusively cartoons made in the 1980s and earlier. Boomerang became the new home to most classic cartoons that Turner Broadcast Company had purchased.
Gather around. It's time to share Boomerang, the network dedicated to classic cartoons. Visit CartoonNetwork.com and request Boomerang from your cable or satellite provider. Boomerang, it's all coming back to you.
Also in the year 2000, a new block known as Cartoon Fridays launched, and this featured new episodes of the most popular cartoons at the time, every Friday. Multiple shows would often premiere new episodes on this block, and it was pretty impressive in hindsight. On June 18, 2001, Betty Cohen, who served as Cartoon Network's president since it launched, left the company due to creative disagreements with Jamie Kellner, the head of Turner Broadcasting at the time. On August 22, 2001, Jim Samples replaced Cohen as the executive vice president and general manager of the network. Big things for Cartoon Network continued under Jim Samples. Less than a month after him being appointed to Cohen's position, Cartoon Network launched a late-night block to target young adults and adults alike. This was called Adult Swim. Adult Swim debuted on September 2, 2001. This block launched more adult-oriented programming like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and it allowed for programs such as Hunger Force and other adult-oriented shows to have a home now under the Adult Swim block. The Jim Samples era at Cartoon Network brought a lot more classic original shows to the network. Under Samples, we got the CN City era, which consisted of Samurai Jack, Codename Kids Next Door, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Camp Lazlo, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and it continued shows like Powerpuff Girls and others. The CN City era was named because of the bumpers of the era that aired on the network depicting all the cartoons seemingly living in the same city as one another, and for many this signifies one of the best eras of Cartoon Network's history. And the era that followed was known as the Yes era in 2006. Some of the CN City bumpers were still used, but not as much. And now mixed in were bumpers of Fred Fredberger from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, simply uttering the words yes in between bumpers on network advertising. Cartoon Network for the first time attempted a live-action made-for-TV movie called Reanimated. This later spun off to one of the most terrible shows ever created, Out of Jimmy's Head, in 2007. After this show and the stepping down of Jim Samples came perhaps the worst era in Cartoon Network history. In 2007, a new person was heading Cartoon Network. Stu Snyder took over, and with him came a lot of bad. And I mean a lot. The bad things came in 2009 when Snyder started the CN Real era. Quick side note, under Snyder, Toonami was also pulled from the network, and that really upset many anime lovers. For many people, Toonami was their first introduction to Japanese anime, and when it was pulled in 2008, this was another huge controversy that happened under Snyder. Now, luckily this was a short-lived era, but during this era, the Cartoon Network, I again have to emphasize Cartoon Network, was airing live-action shows. Things like sports programming and weird shows of dude bros blowing shit up on camera. It was really just cringy and sad for the network. During this time, tons of shows that were staples of the network were abruptly ended, and failed attempts at new live-action shows continued. They even removed the staple block Cartoon Fridays to Thursdays, and gave the Friday block to another failed attempt at live-action called You Are Here. Anyway, I don't want to talk anymore about this. The point is, Cartoon Network tried live action, and it failed. There was only one redeeming thing from this era, for me, and it's a show that I loved because of its distinct style, writing, and pretty awesome creativity. And of course I'm talking about The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. After the constant fails of the CN Real blocks, Cartoon Network began to fall back into form and a renaissance was looming. This all came from a competitor's network, and this mistake may be the reason Cartoon Network is still around today. Cartoon Network may owe their existence today to one company, and that is Nickelodeon. Now I know what you're going to say, but hear me out. In January 2007, Nicktoons channel aired a standalone short of an exciting new show called Adventure Time, and the network passed on it twice. And later it was pitched to Cartoon Network, who picked it up. Nickelodeon went with another great cartoon though. Yeah, they did that. So yes, Cartoon Network landed Adventure Time as a series on the network. This sparked a renaissance in modern animation for TV. The show premiered in 2010 and it was loved fairly quickly for its unique and weird animation, as well as its storytelling ability. From this came my personal favorite show of the new era, Regular Show, and it came out the same year as Adventure Time. To many people, these two shows saved the network. After this, shows like The Amazing World of Gumball and Steven Universe released, and for the most part, these unique shows have continued to do well. And in 2012, Toonami was brought back and has remained ever since. Even though Snyder nearly destroyed the Cartoon Network, he did redeem himself towards the end and started the Cartoon Network renaissance. Following Stu Snyder leaving, in 2014, Christina Miller was put into power at Cartoon Network, and they have been doing consistently well ever since. I mean, obviously we have issues like the Teen Titans Go problem, and that show is hated by a lot of people, but hey, it kills in the ratings, so it's okay. Cartoon Network now needs to continue pushing new original programming, as the shows that started the Renaissance are either coming to an end or have already ended. The network has a shaky history, and let's hope that they don't ever try live action again. And just a quick update while I'm making this video, Adventure Time has just officially ended. The catalyst to the Cartoon Network renaissance ended on September 3rd, 2018 after 10 seasons. Cartoon Network was to many people a brilliant idea from its inception. Similar to CNN, nobody thought that a 24-hour news channel would work, just as nobody thought that a 24/7 Cartoon Network would work, but it did. Cartoon Network's massive success and continued success in 2018 is due to them taking the risk to try original programming. They were a network dedicated to rerunning classic cartoons, but they ended up creating modern classic cartoons and making animation for a new generation. They honestly created some of the most important pieces to modern television animation.
Scooby! I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna scare you, and I'm gonna shave your head right here on the Cartoon Network.
3 reasons to watch my new show on Cartoon Network. Me, and me. That's not me. So in summary, me.
It's Garfield, weeknights at 8 o'clock on the new home of Garfield, Cartoon Network.
It's a lot about me.
Have you battled any worm people lately? Dino Boy has. Dino Boy lives a life of danger and excitement in the Lost Valley. He battles terrible pterodactyls and deadly dinosaurs. Watch Dino Boy, Saturday at 12:15 on the Power Zone.
The folks who brought you summer are proud to present Fall on Cartoon Network with a whole new season of all new shows. Starting this fall, you'll see Garfield, Captain Planet, Tom and Jerry Kids, Cartoon Planet, and Carrot Top's AM Mayhem. All new, all this fall. 5 new reasons to tune in to Cartoon Network, the best place to fall.
You gotta do the cooking by the book. You know you can't be lazy. Never use a messy recipe. The cake will end up crazy. If you do the cooking by the book, then you'll have a...
Break it down, bitch. Let me see you back it up. Drop that ass down, load it, pick that motherfucker up. Break it down, bitch. Let me see you back it up. Drop that ass down, load it, pick that motherfucker up. Now back that pussy, she's a motherfucker.